But yeah, so we were just discussing the Wuhan Lab Theories that are gaining a bit of traction.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about either of them.
No.
There's two though, right?
Yeah, one of it's that it was like an accidental release, right? Sorry, when you say two, do you mean two labs or two theories?
Two theories, two labs. One was from like the Wuhan coronavirus lab, where their specialty was like studying bat-borne coronaviruses, which is oddly specific. And then the other one was the CDC, or like the China's CDC headquarters were in Wuhan or something like that, which I didn't realize.
And so the thought is that they either had this in storage or had it developed as sort of like a bioweapon hedge or something.
Yeah, I don't know exactly any theories about what the intention was. Is that?
Yeah, that's what I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think and it's not even, most of the theories that I've seen are like, they don't really, there's not much malice involved. It's more like accidental release, or like some janitorial staff might have been selling fucking bats out the back to the wet market, something like that.
Oh, wow. So
it could have just been something like someone sold an infected bat to their fucking cousin who runs the bat stand at the wet market.
Yikes.
What do you think about everyone calling it the Wuhan virus or China virus? Are you for or against that, or don't really give a fuck?
Don't give too many fucks. Like, it makes quite a bit of sense to call it that. Mm-hmm. That's where it came from, but if you're saying it with the knowledge that it irks people,
if you're being
then you're just
twat,
like Trump and
China.
His others.
China.
Not racist at all. Comes from China.
It's from China.
Yeah, classic. I mean, it gives me a chuckle, but everyone, I think, now knows if they're using it, then they're using it to be inflammatory for the most part.
Yeah, that's fair. Someone at work told me, and I didn't check. I guess I can fact check it right here, but they were saying that because a lot of people use the Spanish flu as an argument, like, well, we did it to Spain when it was the Spanish flu, but apparently it was actually originated in the States.
The Spanish flu.
Yeah, and somehow got associated with Spain. I'm gonna fact check that now before I tell anyone else some complete crock of shit.
You heard it here first, folks. Brett says the Spanish flu is the fault of the US.
Second result, not to say this is conclusive, Spanish flu origin Kansas.
Huh.
Spanish flu. It was first observed in Europe, America, and areas of Asia. But yeah, so it says that it's unknown exactly where.
Right, so it just hit Spain the hardest to start.
Despite the fact that the 1918 flu wasn't isolated to one place, it became known around the world as the Spanish flu, as Spain was hit hard by the disease and was not subject to the wartime news blackout that affected other European countries. Interesting. So basically they probably just reported the best on it. Or the most, honestly.
Right.
Interesting. That's the exact opposite of what's happened here. Wuhan has reported the least honestly on it, from what it seems.
Yeah, you could call it the New York virus.
Yeah.
It might be more accurate.
Huh. Interesting. Anyway, I mean, it does come from China, so...
Yeah.
I don't really give a shit. I don't have strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't either.
But...
Do you have any leanings towards one of the three plausible scenarios of its origin story?
I mean, I would never discount it simply mutated and jumped to humans. Mm-hmm. Like that's always a possibility. I also wouldn't be surprised if it came from some sort of facility that was containing it. But I would be quicker to attribute it to incompetence, not malice.
Yeah, regardless of where it came from.
Yeah.
Under those three circumstances, yeah.
How about you?
I'm on the same page. Yeah, but I know next to nothing about it or coronaviruses in
Me
general.
too. I'm about as small an expert on this subject as one could be. But the fucking, I forgot what I was just gonna say. No, it's gone.
All right,
Gone forever.
gone forever. It'll come back.
It will.
That's what you're supposed to say when someone loses something. It'll come back.
Don't worry. It'll be back, dude.
And if it doesn't, we'll keep recording until it does.
But yeah, what we're a bit deeper in now. Is there any new habit you've formed on the like staying inside most of the day?
Sleeping in.
Sleeping in, hey?
Yeah.
Right.
Not to my great joy, but I've been sleeping in more, so something I'm trying to nip in the bud.
Yeah, I've also started sleeping in a bit more as well.
Yeah. I think it's just like there's not enough holding me accountable right now. As much as I want to say like I could be very independent and be self-employed and all this stuff, like this is a pretty good test of that.
Yeah.
And having to go into work every day at the same time has done me some good, I'm now realizing, because it's pretty easy for me to roll out of bed.
Yeah, when your paycheck depends on it.
Exactly. And when it doesn't, or when you can kind of be a bit more malleable with your hours, 10 to 6 or something like that, if you really want to, then not as much holding you accountable. So yeah, sleeping in, I hate it though, because I'm most productive in the morning. So if I sleep in until like 10, let's say, which I'm not doing that often, but I've done a couple times.
That's a deep one, especially for you, because I know you do like getting up early.
It's so deep, it's ridiculous. That was
like a weekday 10. Have you had a weekday 10?
I had a weekday 10.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I had a weekday 10, and then I ended up working till like 7 because like what else would I? Yeah, that's what I signed up for when I hit snooze 4 times.
Yeah.
And
this is funnier too because it's you. Like just in the short time we've been hanging, it's like I noticed that the early wake up's pretty important. So
it's the only thing that makes me a person who does things. Otherwise, I may as well not exist, man. So yeah, wake up at 10, work till after dinner time, and then I'm just ineffectual after 8 p.m. No matter what my wake up time is. So
yeah, I'm the same. I always have a cutoff time where it's just like I think I built that through university where I'd just like always do stuff in the morning or through in between classes, and then when like 7 or 8, depending on the semester, like I had a time kind of where I would always stop working, and it ended up helping because I'd always just do work earlier. But same thing. It's like once that time's passed, though.
Yeah, it's done. So yeah, I'm gonna try and get back to the relatively early mornings, 6-ish, hopefully this week.
Cool.
Just be more on my game. I can get things done for a few hours before work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've been bouncing between 7 and 7:30.
How's that been?
It's been all right, but then I usually start work around 8 because I want to be done at 4-ish.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like having 2 hours before work.
Yeah. And that is a little later than you were doing pre.
Yeah, pre I was probably like 6, between 6 and 6:30.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get back to 6:30, I think.
Yeah.
And then start work at 8:30.
Yeah.
We'll be clean.
Any new habits for you?
Been snacking a little too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Playing more video games too, which I actually don't mind right now.
Yeah.
Because it's how I hang out with a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
Like Brendan's not playing that one anymore, but some of the guys from Kelowna that I used to hang with. So yeah, the snacking's what's really bugging me. That's why I'm doing the fucking carnivore starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be greasy, I think.
So you eat meat-based or animal-based products?
Yeah, only animal-based products. It's a moral thing for me. It's an ethical stand.
Yeah, it's about sticking it to the...
I just value plants so highly. Like, we wouldn't be here if we didn't have photosynthesizing plants, so how could you sleep at night knowing that you're eating those?
It's true. They have feelings, too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think all the vegetarians, vegans, and omnivores are real pieces of shit, and I'd just like to take this moment to stand on my soapbox and look down from my moral high ground of only eating things that breathe oxygen.
You picked the best century to be born in, my friend,
Yes.
because you have a platform that perhaps no one will listen to, but you can shout into to the end of time.
Yeah, I will scream into the void. No, but jokes aside, yeah, it's anything that comes from an animal and nothing that comes from any other source. So for me, it looks like a lot of beef, chicken, and fish is like staples. And then lunch will be eggs and bacon pretty much every day. I will do one single plant. I think I'm going to keep avocados in my diet.
Okay.
Because I worry that I won't get enough fat if I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't have, like, you're not going to run your your metabolic energy isn't going to come from protein only.
Right.
I think you either have to pick fat or carbs.
Okay.
I'm an idiot. I know nothing about this stuff, but
right, you have to have some kind of, because the protein isn't really necessarily an energy source.
Right, exactly. Protein's used more to rebuild and like synthesize other proteins, I would imagine.
Okay.
Build enzymes, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you need because that's what they said. That's the whole keto thing is that it's when you switch to make it so that the fatty acid metabolism is your main source of energy,
mm-hmm.
metabolic energy,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to carbs. So I'm interested. I've never tried that before.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say they get like kind of sick when they first do it and stuff. So I think that'll be interesting just to do.
Right.
From like experimenting with your diet standpoint, which I've never really done a diet.
Yeah.
And I like that this one, I'm calling it a diet, but really it's just eating different shit because it's like eat as much as you want. Just make sure it's not plants.
Different things. Is there any thing about, like, is there any evolutionary explanation for ketosis where some people, like our ancestors, would they have, like, what is the evolutionary argument for why our bodies go into ketosis? Is it sometimes those other carbs that we would get from veggies weren't available, so people were just eating meat? Or
yeah, I think that's probably a good. I think there probably definitely is. I'm not an expert, but we're full of fat. Like, so you don't need to eat to burn fat.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So you can fuel you can get it's a fuel source without having to consume anything.
Okay.
So we probably. Yeah, I wonder. It's an interesting like chicken or egg question. Like if you go way back down into simpler organisms, I wonder how extensive fatty acid metabolism is in like but simpler life forms.
Mm-hmm.
That's super fucking interesting.
But so the idea is basically you go to ketosis when you're fasting, then when
yeah,
you're not eating anything.
I think so. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
You might need the source to bump you over. I'm just speculating that it could be once you have no sugar. I think it would switch over. You'd probably need to get into like starvation territory though.
Right. I think I actually saw Nassim Taleb tweeting one time that even like intermittent fasting can induce some form of ketosis.
Yeah. If we had people listening to this, they'd probably be smashing their head against the wall right now. Okay, yeah. Fasting. So you have a stored glycogen. You have glycogen stored in your. I think it's in your blood that your body stores glycogen. So you burn through that, and then once that's done, then you go to fat.
Right.
So ketosis is achieved. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But you have to obviously work through whatever your surplus is that you're running of carbs in your body. Okay.
So then, given that, I would bet that the earlier organisms didn't have endogenous fat stores. Like I think that's like a nice to have, where it's like you probably needed like say like microbes or whatever needed exogenous or external sources of energy, and it's only once they got to a certain level of complexity that they had an excess they could find more. Like say they got a probe or something that could pull in food at twice the rate, whatever their food is. Now they have that much. They don't depend on anything else, and say the probe only costs half of their total. So now they have like a 0.5x left, and then that's how they probably started storing things. All to say that I would guess that glucose metabolism came before fatty acid metabolism.
Okay.
That was a roundabout way to get there, but
Okay.
does that make sense?
Didn't quite understand the explanation.
No, it wasn't very clear.
I'm taking in the conclusion now.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna try again on that
Okay.
explanation. This is just for. Let's see if I can do a better job. So if you have organism, and it eats whatever it eats X amount per day, and then that's just enough to keep it alive for the day. And then say it undergoes some mutation where it used to have to move all the way to the food source to pick it up. Say. Now it has a little antenna that can pick up the food for it from twice the distance. And let's say that allows it to pick up 2x from the food source per day.
Yeah.
And the cost of having that new probe is 0.5x.
Okay.
So now they spend 1.5x per day, but they're collecting 2x.
Okay.
So they have 0.5x in excess. I think that's when you'd start having be advantageous to have some adaptation to store that 0.5x. So those microbes, say they had like, I don't know, some mutation where they had like a little, like they're slightly bigger, or I don't know, whatever it is, they have the ability to store it. That would make it more advantageous for them, because now if they came to a day where they didn't find, or they only found 0.5x food, they could then supplement with their excess store.
Right. But the necessary precondition is that they have the apparatus to first find a surplus, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that you're only going to get to find the surplus when you have that initial way of generating the energy, which is the sugar metabolism.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Because I think because a sugar is like a really far down the breakdown of like organic molecules. Like when things rot and ferment, they create sugars.
You're right.
No, they create alcohols, don't they? Anyway, I think that you're more likely to find like a sugary source in nature than you are
Readily available.
a big fatty acid.
Right.
Because it's going to oxidize. Yeah.
Well, and fats do typically come from animals, right?
Right,
so
exactly.
You need to be a sufficiently sophisticated thing to eat that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Even eating catching and eating an insect is a pretty complicated task.
Totally.
Okay. Interesting.
Apologies to all the evolutionary biologists out there.
We just cracked the code, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the source code to the universe, dude. Get Eric on the phone. What a portal.
Interesting, Mel. Yeah, so you're really talking about this as a what do you call that? When you have like a system that is the sum of it's not the sum of its parts, but it's
greater than the whole's greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
Some Gestaltian evolutionary biology. Is that the dude's name?
I'm trying to think of the name. Yeah. Like we talk about consciousness this way.
Yeah, Gestalt psychology, where
there's a word for it that I'm trying to, when something becomes apparent. Anywho.
I'm not sure what the word you're looking for is.
Anywho. Doesn't matter.
No, it's fine.
It's all good.
Fine.
It's fine.
Just keep going.
Keep the podcast going. I don't care.
Make me look like oh. Yeah.
Any positive habits you're picking up?
Yeah, writing a little bit at least.
Yeah.
Not like that tiny little low effort newsletter every week.
Yeah.
Which I've yet to do this weekend.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Hey, it's still Sunday. I got till midnight.
You gonna transcribe this podcast later?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the play. That's the move. I'm just dictating my newsletter right now. But yeah, so definitely just work like productivity on my own, like my self projects has gotten better. So that's the main positive. And then just like walking more as well. Nicole and I have been going on good walks, like 5K usually most days.
Nice.
So it's clean.
And is that just more time on your hands, or where's that coming from?
Not even a ton. It's just because it seems like there's less to do. Well, there is less to do outside of the house. So it's just like that's now a viable. Not to say it wasn't viable before. Maybe it was just we were missing that it was as viable an activity. It's really fun to just go for a walk.
Yeah.
And then like a nice conversation and stuff. So
yeah. Do you think people are? Oh, we're
7 o'clock.
7 p.m. So we're cheering for the
healthcare
workers right now. So if anyone hears that, we're all just clapping and supporting our healthcare workers.
Yeah.
But what I was going to ask, do you think, you mentioned walking, a lot of people are learning to appreciate simpler ways of being together and practicing things that you get a lot out of them, but maybe we were avoiding them or
not giving them their due before.
Yeah,
I definitely think that's the case.
Yeah, like the return to baking is an interesting one, because it's like people are returning to this, I don't know, like making bread of all things too. Like it's not like everyone's making muffins or cinnamon buns. I mostly see people making bread. Yeah,
the bread's really interesting because it's one of the things that normally you'll do something DIY because it's cheaper, right? That's a lot of times. Like it's like, oh, I'll make my own wine because it's half the price for a bottle kind of thing.
Right.
But with bread, like commercial bread production is so effective at what it does,
right,
that you can't hope to beat it at home, right, unless you order like really, really large. But so it's interesting that people are picking up that hobby, even though it's like you're paying twice the amount you would for a loaf of bread making it yourself.
Yeah. Well, the appeal of bread is not. It's not the argument for making bread. If we were to sit down and hash out that compared to cinnamon buns,
right,
or it wouldn't stack up, because you could go to the store and get a loaf of bread and it would be better than this, like, and cinnamon buns are better.
Yep.
Objectively.
Yeah, they're sexier. They're more interesting.
Sexier. So
what's going on?
I don't know why. I wonder what it is about it. It seems like people are returning to like a kind of Hamlet type lifestyle where we're taking care of one another more, maybe within our families at least.
Within the family unit right now.
Yeah. And I don't have too much to add to this, but I just want to observe that bread production is a weird thing that's happening right now.
No, it's a good point, man. I definitely think we are kind of like getting back to the basics, because that's pretty much all we have to do right now. But I hope it sticks, because it's like you said, you actually get a lot more than you think you do out of this stuff. And it's too bad that we weren't realizing that before.
Yeah. What specifically do you think we get out of it that are important enough to justify doing them?
A lot of them are things that you can do together. So it's not like, at least for me, it's like going on walks together or working on baking a bread. So it's getting, it's like, I like the nature of the communication you get out of it, where it's like working together, solving problems together, hashing through things, like if you're talking about something on a walk, that sort of thing. Just more connectedness is what I'm feeling. And I'm appreciating it actually quite a bit.
Right.
So I guess the question is how to make this stick after we are back to normal. Does it just go away? Is that just the nature of things? Or is it focusing and just trying to remember this time? And what do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, for a lot of, you're talking specifically about the people who are learning to go back to simpler things and appreciate those things.
Because not obviously this is a generalization. Not everyone has those troubles, and a lot of people appreciated the simple things before this.
Yeah,
but like
we're not talking about the people that are at home wishing they never had kids. And
no, we're not
filing for
because that's the other side of the coin. I guess maybe I'm completely biased because I'm having kind of a good time in this quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that because I can keep working and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm in a pretty lucky position. But yeah, you bring up a good point, though. There are a lot of people where this is not at all business as usual, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not enjoying this. It's not the simple things.
No. But you're wondering for those of us who are enjoying them, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not completely sold. I'm not completely understanding what makes these things good.
Right.
Can we linger on that before we answer the question?
Yeah, we can. Because I was just trying to get out of answering that question properly because I had no answer. Well,
good.
Actually, I think I don't have an articulate answer, but I can make a comparison.
Only articulate answers on this podcast.
No. So the feeling of going for a walk or baking bread or doing more of your own cooking is the same feeling I get when I go camping or fishing or hunting.
Okay.
And I feel like it's closer to what we had to do before we had all these comforts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more like providing for like the baking specifically.
Mm-hmm. Why
it feels like something like going fishing and then eating the fish you caught. It's because you're actually, yeah, it's closer to that because we obviously evolutionary are hunter gatherers, so I think that we're kind of hardwired to like those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get to kind of make something from scratch, I feel like whatever part of the dopamine system it is that fires when you catch a fish or and then cook the fish up is the same thing that triggers when you try your first loaf of bread you've made yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the loaf of bread is even more compounded because maybe you didn't even consider before baking bread. Like you're just like, bread's a thing that is made for me at the store. I pick it up, and it's so like dissociative from the process.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're getting your hands dirty on every single piece of the process, aside from like milling the flour and shit.
Yeah.
That's next week.
That's next week. Yeah. Yeah. You guys are gonna have a little mill set up on your deck.
Yeah, just whipping a little donkey, pulling it around. I don't know. Does that'll
fly in Kitsilano? Yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't last long with the carnivore diet, though.
Jeez.
Does that better answer your question at all?
Yeah, it does. And that was kind of one of the things I was thinking of was I think what you're saying is you're tied more closely to the result of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And these activities specifically are kind of a more direct experience with what the end goal is, or with what or just with what the activity is, maybe.
Mm-hmm. A stronger association between the process and the result.
Yeah. And you know, when I think of a lot of what the mundane is for people before the coronavirus, and maybe now too, what those things were was a lot of activity that wasn't necessary. It was very, very specific, but not necessarily fitting into a bigger picture for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're going for a walk or you're baking bread, you're quite readily understanding why you're doing that.
Yeah.
So I think that explanation makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
You said, if I interpreted what you said correctly.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I'm thinking about is it reminds me of meditation,
mm-hmm.
where it's essentially a useless activity, and that's kind of why I mentioned about you could like the stores haven't run out of bread, you could go buy a loaf of bread.
You still can.
It's inherently pretty useless to go for a walk. Even it doesn't feel like you're doing anything.
Right, like you're not checking anything off your to-do list with a walk.
No, you're not. Yeah, there's nothing that comes out of that you can say, look what I did.
Strava's helping with that, though.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
No, I'm just kidding. I definitely take your point.
So I think there's something about doing you're starting to focus more on the activities that you're doing them because you know there is some intrinsic good in doing them. It's healthy for you to do.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to tie them to some kind of ulterior and potentially pernicious goal.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
I was kind of just thinking, like, the other day I wish I had a yard and stuff, because I'd love to be doing yard work right now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's a bit more of a goal in mind there when you're cutting the lawn and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I was talking to a buddy yesterday, and he's like, yeah, I just started cutting my lawn almost every day. Like I don't even need to.
Yeah.
And then that got me thinking kind of about meditative activities.
Yeah.
Which is what you're getting at here as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, all to say that I wish I had a lawn to mow.
You can start a garden out there.
Yeah. Everything I touch usually dies, but...
Yeah, I have a succulent that's currently browning and shriveling up in my window. It's pretty tragic.
Don't those things like suck water out of the air?
Yeah, like they're doing all the work for you.
They're supposed to be unkillable.
As long as you're not in the room.
Yeah.
They're fine, but once I step in, it decides to die, I think.
It just starts shriveling.
Yeah, it knows.
But yeah, so do you think people are just getting like a lot of clarity of thought out of these sort of mundane meditative activities?
I think as you do them more, you I don't know if you ever like fully grasp their benefit, because again, the benefit's kind of just
It's not tangible, really.
Non-tangible.
Yeah.
And even like, I think subjectively people have a hard time assessing like where they're at day to day.
Yeah.
Where their emotions are. Because I just don't take the time to read that. Like I can wake up miserable and not recognize that I'm miserable.
Yeah, not notice.
And go through the day and progressively get better. So I think if you're walking more and you're feeling better, it might not be that you're actually recognizing that. But I think most of the people, if you had a sizable increase in your walking frequency, you're walking 5 extra kilometers a day, more than you used to, getting more sunshine.
And outside too, yeah.
Outside, yeah. Dramatically positive effects would be my guess, but I don't think that anyone would say it's radically altered their life or made them incredibly more peaceful or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it probably has.
It's kind of like hair growing, right? Like you don't notice it day to day because it's such a small change.
Yeah.
But then in like 3 months you look and you got shoulder length hair, or you're chilling, being super productive in this example kind of thing, or your relationships are all doing really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I was thinking about the other day that's related to this, and it's like going for a walk. I think what it lets me do, and this is kind of triggered, I saw someone tweet that was like, to paraphrase, they were like, I love meditating because it lets me go through all the unproductive thoughts I'm gonna have for the day and get them out in like one chunk.
Interesting.
And then that struck a chord with me, because I had been thinking like walks are nice for just thinking all the thoughts you need to think that are useless in a day. And it's just like all the like dumb shit you're worrying about that you shouldn't be worrying about, you get to go through once or twice on a nice like hour walk.
Yeah.
And then when you get back, you can kind of just like sit down and focus better on, or more focused on what it is you're doing, that sort of thing. So I've been finding that. So
for me, it still inevitably will pop up during the day.
Yeah.
So what makes, and is this experience the same for you?
It is. I think the frequency of pop-up decreases though.
Okay.
The more I do these meditative activities.
And do you think you also are quicker to recognize that it's probably not productive?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Like showers are a good, I think I mentioned to you a little bit ago, I like doing a lot of thinking in the shower.
Yeah.
So it's like showers, taking a deuce.
Yeah.
Walks, yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of like mull through. I feel like I have like a threshold where I just need to think useless shit for say an hour and a half a day to be like 5 times more productive overall or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some formula that I'm just not ever going to be privy to, but
Do you think it has to be in the morning?
Interesting. I don't think it has to be in the morning.
No.
I think there's a carryover effect.
So you can walk in the night and you've...
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm just doing most of my work after my walk in the evening. So like I'll work for the day job, go for the walk, and then do Solum or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So I generally am doing the walk before I'm really getting down to business. Mm-hmm. So my answer initially was no, it doesn't need to be, but then I realized that I'm kind of simulating the morning by saving my favorite, the work I care more about for after the walk.
That makes good sense.
Yeah. Do you find it needs to be in the morning for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that will spiral.
Yeah.
If I let things get out of control during the day, then there's not much coming back until I hit a hard reset.
Which is
overnight.
The sleep.
Yeah. So morning is definitely important for me, I think. I don't... sitting on the toilet or having a shower doesn't do it for me, though.
That's interesting.
It's basically got to be walking or sitting with my eyes closed.
I still take warm showers sometimes, though. So...
I tout a lot of cold shower stuff, but like it's as cold as my shower will go, which is pretty weak because I live in a 270 unit apartment.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so it's not like you're dying of uncomfort.
No, it's not like I'm willing I'm willing blood through my body.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, and so I think maybe I don't know exactly the point I'm trying to make here, but I think if were I to start sitting quietly for an hour, which I really want, this is making me want to like just meditate more, not just do a meditative activity, is I suspect that I'm going to realize that what I thought was doing this efficiently, like milling through my thoughts, once I get used to meditating, I'll be like, oh, I actually wasn't doing it then. It was just the best I had. Right. You know what I mean? So potentially you just have or people who've gotten good at meditating have a higher ceiling for that efficiency of churning through the shit thoughts.
It's a more potent activity in terms of eradicating thoughts.
But right now, say a walk's the best for me right now, and then a shower and like using the washroom is like a close second probably.
Okay.
But potentially once I get used to meditating, that'll be like a 5x new ceiling, where now those other things comparatively aren't very effective. Potentially.
Do you find that one thing is more effective than the other right now for you?
The walks, for sure.
Yeah.
Also, before this, public transit was one of those places as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to read or just like mull through bullshit on buses.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So the bus is the same. I'll do the same thing in the shower in the bus, but I don't feel they're effective because I actually sometimes will be more anxious after a session of sitting and mulling things over. And I'm not saying, this conversation isn't necessarily about reducing anxiety necessarily, but it's ideally about calming.
Ideally, it doesn't raise anxiety.
Yeah, and sometimes there's like a pattern of thinking that is, I'm still mulling through things and getting thoughts. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm not getting thoughts out of the way necessarily.
Right, like you're just scratching the surface and not.
Yeah, and that's the same with the shower. Like I mostly just feel like I'm racing through things, but I'm like multitasking in such a way that I'm actually not thinking about anything in particular. I'm just...
Yeah, interesting.
So
maybe it could just be, it could be a difference where, like, I notice some people work better with complete silence, and some people work better and more productive with a bit of background noise. Maybe there's some kind of similar parallel in this mental churning activity, where some people, they are more efficient at it when there is something that's just there to focus on as well. But I lean towards this is better done as the sole focus. Like I think meditating for most people would be the most effective way to do this.
Right.
But
have you done much meditating since the lockdown or ever?
Not really ever.
No.
Yeah. Like I've always just found activities to be meditative during and leaned on those. But I really want to make an effort to give like, I probably won't start with an hour because that's pretty hectic right off the bat. But or maybe I'll ask for a bit of advice. Do you think it's good to just jump right into it, or just?
You may as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, definitely got to get back to the 6 wake up then.
You're not going to do any harm by
yeah, just become a heroin addict. Meditate.
Push you over the edge. Yeah. No, I mean, the longer you can do it, the better, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, I've got some pretty comfy cushions to sit on now.
You do. You have your Solum cushions. I'm really getting good at sales, as you can tell.
Yeah, this is a shout out to our sponsor, Solum Cushion Company. Mindful seating, mindful objects for intentional seating. But yeah, so you think like you might as well just not do like a stepwise linear progression, just sit down, shut up.
Yeah,
cool.
It's not really an endurance sport.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, I think you'll get more out of it if you can sit for longer. I mean, sometimes it'll take you 10 or 15 minutes just to settle in and feel like you've got a seating posture that's comfortable enough, and you've reached kind of, your heart rate's gone down a little bit or whatever, and you get used to the room and the noise around you and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you definitely, the more time the better within reason. You don't need to do 10 hours a day for
10 days.
Out, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would actually recommend doing an hour over 10 minutes, because I think you just get, I think compounding benefits come from doing it longer, longer than 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
For sure.
Cool. So yeah, I've done like probably 3 or 4 sits this year.
Yeah.
Where I just sat and counted my breath for 15 to half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So and I tried a couple of that, like Sam Harris's app I got like,
how did that go?
2 or 3 weeks into. It was all right. I don't know if I quite bought the like someone talking you through doing this. It doesn't. It kind of feels like something you should get some perspective on and some instruction, and then go try yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can just sit. You can treat it as you would walk. Where you don't necessarily have a goal when you're walking, but you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. So you could just sit there and let your thoughts go.
Yeah, I think I'll give that a try this week then.
Yeah. Or you can sit there and, if you don't want to just let your thoughts go and be running through them, you can focus on your breath. You don't have to count your breath, but you can just observe your breath.
Yeah.
Or observe the thoughts you're having. So just basically you're like an observer. So you think about just looking at your thoughts.
And so do people start with the breath because it's sort of like an easier way to become that third party observer, and then you switch to something more complicated like your thoughts, or is it just a different
there's different
practice?
Schools of meditation. I think the idea of focusing on the breath is when you're still trying to have it's one of the easier ways to identify with to be aware of sensations because of the changing nature of it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you why specifically people focus on the breath. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe this week I'll just try sitting and doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because I've always tried like some, not to cheapen it, but some gimmick, like listening to Sam Harris guide you through, or count your breath, or be aware of your breath.
Yeah.
You could just sit there and mull.
I don't know if you've seen Naval's 60 day thing on.
I've seen it going around, but I haven't taken the time to look into it.
I don't exactly know. I think he just recommended that people do this to start. They do 60 days, 1 hour a day.
Damn.
And just sit, and just like you're saying, just sit there and don't have any goal or any intention with it. Just kind of let your thoughts go.
60 days, eh? That's hyphy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a commitment.
Yeah.
But that might be up your alley.
All right. Start it tomorrow.
All right.
Guy's just agreeing to everything thrown his way right now.
Yeah. So Brett's taken on the Carnivore Diet within the last couple weeks, I think, right?
I'm starting tomorrow.
You're starting tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then agreed to do...
training for a 4-month training schedule for a marathon starting tomorrow. And now I'm meditating 60 minutes a day for 60 days.
I think you're going to be 1/3 Jordan Peterson, 1/3 David Goggins, 1/3 Mahatma Gandhi by the end of this.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be Bhagavan Brett Saremba at the end of it.
That's it'll be interesting. How long do you think you'll do the meditation for? Like, try it for a week? And
yeah, it's tempting just to say I'll try it for the 60 days, because if I say a week, I'm probably going to do a week and then stop.
Yeah, I'd boot it up with you, because like I did that 10-day Vipassana retreat and it was great. I was totally on board with their recommendation, which was, well, not totally on board, but their recommendation was to do an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening.
That's a lot of time
after you finish. And I told myself I'd do the hour in the morning for sure, and then maybe 15 minutes or so before bed. Seemed like a reasonable compromise, but I haven't stuck to it, and I should, because like coming out of that, I knew it was one of the best things I've ever done for myself. So all to say that I'd be happy to give it a go, and it would support me waking up earlier, having something to wake up for.
All right, I'm in, man.
All right,
let's do it. But if you hear me agree to any other crackpot shit in the next while, just smack me in the head, because I think this is enough now.
All right. I mean, you don't have to do the meditation thing.
No, I want to.
All right.
No, I want to, dude. Call me a pussy or something?
I don't think you got it in you, man.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting for sure. But like you say, it's just a reason to get up now, too.
Yeah.
Sit for an hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I could do the evening. Got too much solemn business to attend to after work.
Yeah. Most definitely, man. When are you doing your 10-day Vipassana anyhow?
I guess this year's probably a white pain.
Yeah, they said they shut down for the first time in their history. The one, the center I went to.
I guess so. Does the merit one do it all throughout the year, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to do one within a year from now, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you planning on going back anytime soon?
Yeah, I was planning to do one this summer, but
same place.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see whether or not that happens.
Yeah, I mean, if it's open again this summer, I'd be interested in giving it a look.
Yeah, I definitely need to, show myself that I can commit to doing it on my own, though. So this is a good start to do it for 90 or 120 days or something like that before doing another retreat is probably wise.
Just what's the thought there? Just so you can make sure you get the most out of another retreat, or
that's the most important thing, I think, is just to be doing it every day.
Like the point of going to the retreat is to shock you into the system.
That, and then if you're going multiple times, the idea is to go once a year. So after your first time, the idea is really it's a refresher.
Okay. Remind yourself why you're doing it every day for an hour.
I think so, and I think it's just kind of a chance to deepen your practice too. Like the hour a day is good, and then it's helping you and you're maintaining. But if you're not doing that, and let's say you're just doing one retreat every year and nothing else, you're basically starting at square one every time. It's like, so you may as well almost not do it, because 10-day retreat and you go back into the real world for a week, you'll be back day zero of the retreat where you were before. So
you'll be back to grubbing around on all fours for attention and status.
Exactly. Just a dirty hog in the mud rolling around.
Yeah.
Taking selfies. Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh,
sorry, dude.
God. You know how hogs get me all distracted.
Riled up.
Yeah.
You were saying can deepen your practice.
Yeah. No, I can't remember now, but
damn, probably won't come back to you either.
It wasn't. Speaking from experience.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that important. But
okay, well, something interesting. Agreeing to the 60 days of meditating made me more nervous than agreeing to the marathon training. What do you think that says about?
I feel I've really put you on the spot here. First of all, I want to say that. So
It's good, dude. It's healthy to be put on the spot.
all right. Well, you have full consent to, or full option to pull shoot if you want to.
No, I'm still, and not to say that the absolute measurement of nervousness was high, even just that there was a difference. I think is interesting.
Okay, why do you think that is?
I don't know. Probably because I've done somewhat difficult physical things before, but I've not done many. Well, I've never sat quietly for an hour a day before.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. It's that nervous feeling that I know is healthy, and I often lean into.
Do you think it's the result of committing an hour of your day to something that on the face of it is pretty...
Seemingly was very intangible and doesn't seem like there's anything to gain out of it, even though I know that's not true.
Does the potential for mental anguish
play
into that at all? Or
probably.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like, it's a bit of a panic thing where it's like, fuck, what are you going to be thinking about by the end of an hour?
Yeah. You have a lot more self-awareness than I do, because when I started my retreat, we were walking up to the door, the people that I carpooled there with, and one of the guys said, this was the second time.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at me as he was about to step in, and he's like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this.
Jesus.
He's like, you think you are in the lead up, but then you really don't know until you get into it. I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Like, we're just going to sit in a room for 10 days, man.
Well,
how bad can it be? And then I understood what he was saying at the end. Like,
you're covered in your own tears.
Exactly. To throw my cushion out afterwards, man, is rare.
Yeah.
No. I understood. I talked to him after. I was like, I get it now. It's more loaded now, thinking about going the second time around than it was the first time. So all to say, good on you for recognizing that, because it was completely lost on me.
Yeah, fair enough. But I also had your experience as well. But yeah, because it's like there's some, like, I worry about a lot of shit already, and there's some weird thoughts that buzz through even on a busy day. So it's like when you sit down and are like, okay, let's go through the ringer of ideas for today.
Yeah.
It's going to be some weird shit that comes through, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And it really never ends.
No, that's it's basically like you're staring into infinity as well, right?
I think so,
it's
probably.
A pretty terrifying thing. It's like looking into the abyss of space, but it's in your own mind.
Well, and it's so cloudy and mundane when you first start too. It's like you're thinking about your schedule and all these things in your day-to-day, and that's what you've conditioned yourself to how you think, and you are staring into what is just kind of a black hole, but that's not your experience, I don't think. And my guess would be it wouldn't be your experience until you're very deep into an experience with meditation.
Yeah, well, it's almost the opposite of a black hole, where instead of being filled with nothing, it's filled with everything.
Right.
And it's like everything can and does exist in it, as opposed to nothing can exist in it.
Right. The teacher who does these Vipassana retreats, he compares it to a wound that is very deep, and as you meditate more and more, you go deeper and deeper to take the root of the wound out until you get it out.
So it's more painful and more difficult the more you do it, but obviously getting something out from deeper is more valuable. Yeah, I also suspect, and I think it's going to be quite embarrassing too, I think.
Yeah, it's humiliating.
Yeah, I think that's where most of my worry comes from. It's like I realize I'm going to be fucking just embarrassed at myself after the first, probably after every session, I would imagine.
Yeah. Just not being able to control your mind, you mean? Or?
Yeah, I think so. Because it's like, I'm going to be thinking about a bunch of stuff, and it's going to be like, get over it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel pretty pathetic.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And also, I can imagine I'm going to have, be missing expectations, where by the end of the first one, I know I'm going to be like, oh, fuck, you didn't cure cancer. You just sat down for an hour and thought about nothing. Why didn't you do this, that, or the other thing? Yeah. All of that seems like, as you said, I think humiliating is probably a good word. It's like, but what's weird is no one else will share, and you're not humiliated toward anyone else, which is even worse. It's like self-humiliation.
Yeah.
You'd be really disappointed in yourself probably for a lot of the process.
It's such an internal. It's useless on the face of it, and it's an internal process, and so you just. It's like what we were saying about baking or walking around. It's like, why am I doing this to myself? What good is this to do?
But all of these worries are making me realize why it's such a valuable thing to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you mean?
I don't have a very good theory or I can't articulate this well yet, but everything I do that's fun, for example, is something I'm scared of generally. So it's like I'm terrified of heights. My favorite things to do are skiing, big jumps, biking, cliff jumping, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't like public speaking. Have the most fun, like, taking over a meeting at work or in school doing presentations was super fun.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't quite articulate it, and I should, hopefully my hour of sitting, I can work through this a little better. But basically, like, you need to lean into stuff you don't like on the surface to really get enjoyment out of things, I think, and to find really valuable things. And so, all to say that this sounds like shit, so it's probably going to be good for me.
Yeah. What is the feature of, what makes that important, that it has to be something you're scared of or something challenging that makes it a good thing or a rewarding thing to do?
I think it's just basically you have no baseline if it's not something you don't like. Like, you've not overcome anything. It's like you can only appreciate when it gets light out because there's dark, right? Not to get too cliche on anyone here. You can only have light without you couldn't have light without the dark. But it's kind of like that, right? It's like you wouldn't, if everything was just, if you weren't scared of anything, you wouldn't have fun doing anything, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I think you see that with guys like Kai Lenny was talking about this on his episode with Eric, where they get so desensitized because he's surfing these 45-foot waves. It's like, what does an average day in the office feel like to that guy?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you could cultivate that sort of desensitization or feel similar by just choosing things you're good at or not scared of in everyday normal life. And then that would be terrible because A, you're not doing anything super cool like that dude to become desensitized, and B, you're effectively desensitized because you've just like stayed in your lane basically.
Okay.
I don't think I've answered any question here.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That makes good sense.
Yeah, and I have a specific, I think we've talked about this before, but I have a specific like feeling in my stomach when I know it's this thing. And I'm getting that for the meditation, which is
okay
to close the loop here.
Yeah. It's nice that you have that internal cue. I don't feel that as strongly, although I trust that I probably have something similar going on that I'm not aware of. But it's good of you to be able to recognize that. It must be a useful heuristic for a lot of things, I imagine. It
is, and it could even be that I'm misattributing, and I actually have some internal cue I'm not aware of that causes this stomach feeling, and then I'm...
Yeah.
So...
Yeah,
that's probably actually the case, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there is a deeper level of it.
But it is nice to have, whether it's a fair attribution or not to this. Yeah. Like, it could just be a story I tell myself.
Yeah.
But it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You might be better off not knowing what the primary cause is.
Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That applies here as elsewhere.
Somewhat of a diversion, but something I've been thinking about is how, with the internet, this ties into what you were saying. I hope I can find a place to tie it in. With the internet, being online and in particular consuming things on the major platforms like Facebook and YouTube is what come to mind. Maybe Twitter too. Is that you get such a range of everything. Like you can basically have a shallow familiarity and appreciation for all these different things, and maybe even a desire to be parts of each person you see online. And so you're getting you're not getting the totality of human experience on there, but you're getting a lot. You're getting a wide, a massive smorgasbord of things that you could do or aspire to be like.
Yeah. And
I've been wondering if that is, because you said, what was it you said about everything earlier? I can't exactly remember the line you said, but basically what I'm saying is, since everything is available to you, it basically nothing holds that much meaning.
Okay, yeah. And
so I'm wondering if there's, for people basically starting with us, I would say, and maybe even younger than us, or maybe not you and me, let's say, I don't know, but somewhere around that generation where, like kids who are teenagers nowadays, maybe they'll have somewhat of a more difficulty falling into an identity because they have all these things that are available to them and nothing to settle on. Like if you grew up in the 70s and your dad was a sailor, what else were you doing aside from going to school and sailing with your dad?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You didn't have anything else at your fingertips that was drawing you away from that.
And then you'd see what's on the news.
You'd see what's on
or in the paper, kind of thing.
Which was like
probably some sailing and then other standard shit like this guy's mayor, this guy's president.
Yeah. But it was very detached from people. It was almost like you were watching a movie, I would say.
Yeah.
Even today, the news is pretty... You don't feel that you're connected with anybody that you're seeing. Whereas if you're on YouTube or something like that, you really feel like you're in someone's home baking with them or...
Yeah, I think, podcasts are a big example. You feel like you're part of the conversation too.
Yeah. So I wonder if, there's... Well, I feel for myself there's a challenge where there's so many things I could be,
mm-hmm.
and there's so parts of each of these things that interest me that I don't feel I've established any particular deep knowledge or clear direction. I feel that my interests have kind of branched into many different things, none particularly deep. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally, man. That strikes an absolute chord with me. It's been my complete experience.
Yeah.
Like living so far,
mm-hmm.
where we were pitched in school that your life was going to be like a pyramid, where you try a bunch of stuff in school and then you figure out exactly what you're about. And and like a lot of examples we had growing up, and I think it was like, yeah, I'm an X. I do X, therefore I am a sailor.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I feel like we're almost the opposite, where our lives are going to be and have been so far, an upside down triangle, where it's like we didn't like. The more I can navigate the internet, it feels like the more things I add to my identity, basically, because it's like, oh, I want to do like a piece of what this guy's doing. Oh, that looks cool. Let's try some of that.
Mm.
Like taking on more and more things. So it feels like, like as you said, spreading out and not going as deep into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I guess it's like we're going away from fitting into prescribed identities to building our own. Is maybe like the optimistic way to look at that. Is like instead of like fitting into certain tracks, we're just like, I don't know, the generation of the like personal brand. I hate to use that word because MBAs have destroyed it at this point, but you know what I mean? Where it's like your identity really is just you and like all the shit you do,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to being like, it's like Brett's a sailor versus, oh, that's Brett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think I said much with that.
No, I think you did. But, and that is the positive interpretation where you can be many different things.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be one particular thing. But I guess my more cynical interpretation is that, identity is, for all its drawbacks, there's something to it as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think it's getting hard to go in any particular direction or to build any particular identity for yourself. And I wonder if that's damaging for people.
Probably.
I feel when I spend too much time online, or if I spend a few hours on YouTube in the afternoon.
Watching your homesteading shit.
Yeah, that's a great example. I'll watch that 1 week and be like, wow, what a life. That would be great.
Yeah.
And then the next week I'll watch like surfing videos for hours.
Yeah.
no, I want to be a surfer actually instead.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I'd totally do the same thing. Nicole always ribs me for it. She's like, based on like what podcasts you've listened to this week, that's like what your life plan is. Which I get it. Like I do get excited about things, but I think it's less of like I don't think I'm flaky, but it's like I'll get obsessed with that and then absorb just some sliver of it into my identity.
Yeah.
At least I hope that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm like incorporating something useful from all these like far-flung plans.
Yeah. I'm worried I'm becoming nobody.
Interesting.
Because I'm taking all these things and I'm putting them over a burner and I'm stirring them.
Just like some witch's brew of interesting things. Yeah, so this is really interesting because I feel like we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But I am
seeing it as a positive.
Yeah, where it's like I get excited about being a really effective Swiss Army knife. Is like the example I always use, where it's like you can almost have specific knowledge and not having specific knowledge. You can be an expert at not being an expert. Yeah.
Which is to say being a generalist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to think of some more buzz lines there. Only to a degree, though. You definitely, to be successful, need to like be an expert at something, I think. But I don't know. Maybe you're just your timeline might just be like you might be too expectant on timeline. Maybe you're just worried that it feels like you're becoming nobody because you figured you would have had a set identity at this point, which I think is a disservice that like school did what was for us, where they're like, yeah, once you're done here, you'll be doing the same thing until you croak.
Yeah.
But that's not the case, and maybe there's some dissonance there. You think that could be the case, or do you think that no, your worry is more founded than that, and you truly are becoming like master of none?
Probably more of the former.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And I would agree too, from an outsider looking in.
I guess I think there's more meaning when there's less available to you. Like if you have like how much can you say if you're in a spaceship about planet Earth and you see planet Earth? There's not much you can say about it.
No, yeah, the list of adjectives and adverbs for that situation goes down dramatically the further you are from it.
Yeah. So if you're zooming out and getting this range of experiences, working them into, your interests, but more things you're kind of generally aware of, and I don't know that there's ever a point where when you have so much available to you that you do, it's less likely that you go deeply into that one thing.
Yeah, so like what's the threshold for where it becomes like something that makes you less effective, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Or like if you were growing up in like during World War II, like you're overwhelming, I think for a lot of people anyways, in the Western world, your overwhelming urge or like thing that you felt was important to do was to go fight for your country. It's like absolutely miserable thing to do. No one really like would want to do that.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, there's no one.
Yeah.
Well, there's some sickos, but
yeah. Speak for yourself.
The average. I wouldn't. Not me. I'm not one of the sickos. But like convinced Jocko type dudes are doing that regardless of the time, right? Like,
yeah,
that dude's a Navy SEAL. 99 out of 100 times he lives.
Yeah.
But no, completely beside the point.
Yeah. So I guess it's like you kind of thrive under limitations because this is the thing that you do. So you can really do anything and live a good life. Like really, you could. But I think that one of the worst lives to live maybe would be doing everything. Yeah.
No, I think you're right.
That's where my concern comes from. But I do see that there's also a lot of positive ways to interpret this the way I've framed this problem of so much being available. This might not actually be a problem, and I think you're more inclined to take a more positive stance.
I think my positive stance has a caveat that when you zoom out, if you were to look at like a web of everything, when you say you're interested in everything, I suspect that actually you're down a very narrow vein of everything.
Yeah.
Like the things you're interested in are pretty interrelated, probably.
Yeah.
And like when you're collecting like pieces of a bunch of identities that I think actually are quite narrow in the span of identities. Basically to say, like, I think if your interests, even if they're broad or seemingly broad to you, have lots of overlap, that really does narrow it down. And you sort of, maybe even without realizing, are gaining a bunch of specific knowledge in that narrow field of identities. So this is to say that I accept my positive take on this if that is what I've just laid out is true, but I think that there is a real risk that if you're doing like different shit and a lot of it, that you would fall prey to becoming like nobody, master of none.
I'd say that's true for me. Do you think that there's a danger to a lot of people?
Yeah, probably. But yeah, it's tough to say what the threshold is. But I definitely think the danger's real, so I'm not downplaying that. It's a tough one.
Like
it is a little scary though.
Like I know if I was like my 13-year-old self, or maybe a bit younger, 13, where like me and Mitch were skateboarding around and like BMXing and stuff like that.
Yeah, the good days.
There was no internet, and maybe also I'd never started playing hockey as well.
Right.
I'd probably be a skater today.
Yeah.
And I'm not a skater. Like it's fun, I roll around on a longboard or whatever, but like I'm not a skater. I'm not like anti-authoritarian, like
right.
Like I don't embody much of what a skateboarder is, and it's because I think in large part there's all these other options available to me that wouldn't be available if the internet wasn't around.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I wonder if I would be happier if I was a skater, because there's something that was appealing to me and gave it meaning when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's a terrifying thought. Hey.
Yeah.
That definitely
wonder if
resonates.
Anyone who listens to this will be worried about my well-being.
Your current mental state.
I'm fine.
Liam's one Dewey away from becoming a surfer skate bum.
I clarify, I'm quite happy with my life right now, but
yeah, no, I know what you mean though, because I'll have to mull this on my hour sit tomorrow for sure.
Does this resonate with your life, or is it more a thought experiment for you?
No, it definitely resonates, because like growing up, maybe it's I don't know if it's a small town thing potentially, but it's like that's the same thing. I spent most of my time golfing in high school or like mountain biking, and it's like I definitely was pretty close to just doing that, or I don't know if I was pretty close to doing it, but it's like had I not gone to university or something, I could have definitely just like got into to that. But then it's like, well, why didn't it happen then? So
like you tell kids before pre-internet you can be anything you want. Yeah. Cool. I have a few things I can choose from. Now it's like you can be anything you want.
It's like, oh, I have to pick from this fucking list.
Into it, it's the never-ending menu of options.
Yeah, to draw a simple example, I prefer restaurants with small menus.
Yeah.
A lot to worry about now, Liam.
Yeah.
I actually have a lot to just send me into a depressive spiral during my meditation now.
Good. I'm glad to feed you with some content.
Yeah, first you forced me to sign up for this bullshit fucking activity, and then you just
bit by bit chipping away.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You just want me to have a mental breakdown so you can take over my 50p chunk of Solum.
I can console you and then manipulate you into giving away your chunk of the business. That's
Yeah, I won't be able to run my half of Solum from the mental ward at the Riverside place in Port Moody.
I'm unfit to run a business.
No, this is the as you say, the smorgasbord of opportunities right now, and like the number of things we're presented with is overwhelming. It would be really nice to get like one of those people you see on Twitter who is really successful and seemingly has a ton of that specific knowledge, and just pick their brain a little bit.
Yeah. To
see if they felt like this.
Yeah.
Because my gut feeling is that a lot of them did.
Yeah.
And then I think like a lot of those kind of specialized bodies of knowledge is specialized bodies of knowledge that people have accumulated are kind of happy accidents more than they are well thought out plans.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the beauty of having a university system or careers that require several years of work before you can be competent at them. And also climb whatever ladder it is you're trying to climb, is that you're basically out of necessity forced to stick with something.
Yeah, true.
So it's,
if you want to put food on the table, you have to gain specific knowledge to whatever career you've chosen.
So it's an added challenge, I think, to be an independent person who wants to be self-employed or
totally
an entrepreneur, whatnot. So you have to keep all those opportunities at bay, I think.
Yeah, you have to keep your list in check, basically.
Yeah.
It has to be like enough that you become useful and well-rounded, but not so much that you drown and suffocate yourself.
Yeah.
It's some shit. It's just a greasy balancing act at the end of the day, right?
How so?
Just really high stakes in balancing, like having enough interests that, because if you truly are a master of one, you sort of make yourself ineffective in a way. Like,
yeah,
you could know all there is to know about something, but if you can't communicate that to people and you're like completely unsocialized, you're just gonna get forgotten.
Yeah.
Or have your shit stolen by someone who can present it better.
Yeah. And
then so it's balancing the risk of becoming that to just succumbing to all the opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty high stakes balancing act, I guess.
Where do you feel like you lie on that?
Probably a little
balance
bit.
Being currently, and where are you heading, if anywhere?
Yeah, so I definitely fall too much on the side of succumbing to the smorgasbord.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
your eyes are bigger than your stomach.
I think so. I think my eyes are big. I think that's just like I've always been like that. Like I get my hopes up quickly.
Yeah.
Like when I was a really young kid, I would always get my hopes up quickly and always be disappointed about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which I obviously less so as you grow up, but so I think I naturally just my character and nature is to be like not like I wouldn't say I'm glad I didn't become a yes man is what I'll say. It's like I think I could have become that guy who's just like always saying yes.
Okay.
He says after he's agreed to do the Carnivore Diet, a marathon, and 60-day meditation thing. Yeah, but I like to think that I follow through more often now.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas I could have, there was risk that I became that guy who just said yes to everything and acted on nothing.
Yeah. And just to interrupt to your point earlier about still operating within a relatively narrow framework, I still think you do have kind of interrelated and fairly specific interests.
Yeah, so
you're saying yes to things that are up your alley.
Right. So I think the reason I didn't become that guy is I figured out what my lane is, even though it's kind of a wide lane, and generally stick within it. In the best sense of that saying. I know that's generally like not a good thing. Like people say, that guy stays in his lane. But
yeah,
I think I'm using it in a good way, and I think like lanes are, when sufficiently wide, they're a productive thing. So I think that I realized or I didn't realize this was all subconscious and accidental, but like I figured out subconsciously that if I'm gonna like fuck around and say yes to lots of stuff, make sure that they somewhat relate to one another, or at least result in you getting healthier or more productive. And it seems like I've done that, and I think to answer your question, I err on the side of succumbing, but my trend is towards not. And my trend is towards balance, like balancing the risk, both the high and low end of the scale risks.
Yeah. Sounds like you understand your nature enough to be able to maintain the balance.
Yeah, I think I just had one that was, like I said, like I got my hopes up really easily and that sort of thing. So maybe I was lucky in that I have kind of like obvious and like I'm excitable. Like I would always get really excited about things and like agree to stuff a mile a minute. So it was just obvious. Like it became obvious to me early, which I think is lucky. Same question to you then. Where do you fall? What's the trend, and how aware of it are you at this point, do you think?
Probably the same. I kind of have shiny object syndrome, but generally aware of it. Aware of the importance of if I do go towards a direction, at least following through on it for whatever that increment of time is. And then like one other thing that helps with that too is, like this business, for example. So, bringing like being able to do it with somebody else is essentially the only way that I could have been a part of this and like actually have a tangible product in front of me. Like if you weren't doing it at the same time with me, I wouldn't have followed through, because it'd be like, oh, like it's just me. Don't care. I'll let myself down. I'll sleep until 10 a.m.
on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man.
But when someone else's money, time, everything is on the other end of it too, and you're someone who's just very accountable from all my experience tells me.
Oh, just you wait.
That there's kind of a forcing function there to do the work and to show up and to stick with it. So I think to answer your question, I'm the same way. Like there's so many things, and like Riley and I have talked about this. Watch The Wire. Have you seen The Wire?
No.
It's a great TV show.
It's on my I'm basically waiting till I get like cancer or something, and then when I'm going through chemo for like 6 months, I can just binge it. Yeah. Maybe twice if I need to. Because it sounds like it's the best show ever that's ever been made.
Yeah, it's really good. It's not the best in my opinion. But
okay,
I'm not a show guy really, so
fair enough. What's the best then?
True Detective season 1.
Oh, okay. So best whole product is what a bunch of people have given me the sense is. So it's like if you take the whole thing into account.
Oh, okay.
So it's like True Detective's not the best because season 2 and 3 exist.
Right. Okay.
But True Detective season 1 is this another thing on my like when I have cancer list.
Yeah. Those two are probably top 2 for me.
Tight.
Riley and I were talking about The Wire and how David Simon, the producer or director, writer and director, I think. He definitely wrote it. He definitely had some involvement in the making of the movie.
I can pull that up if you'd like.
He has this way of like eliciting nostalgia in his shows, I think. And Riley definitely agrees. He's the one that kind of brought this to my attention. And same thing with his other show called The Deuce. And so like The Wire, for anyone who doesn't know, is about inner city Baltimore, crime, drug dealing, cops trying to get to the bottom of it all. And so
created and then written primarily by David Simon.
Okay. Nothing you would ever aspire to be a part of under normal circumstances, but for some reason you're watching this show and you're like,
I wish I was banging in the South Side Chicago.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, it's incredible when people can do that.
Wish I grew up in Baltimore, the most like violent city in the U.S.
Oh, Baltimore, not Chicago. Yeah, damn. Yeah,
It's like,
it's amazing that a
the
guy can do
hell?
that, right? Like,
yeah,
glamorizes like the worst shit.
yeah.
Because Baltimore's basically considered like a third world country, kind of, right?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know much about
Maybe not
Baltimore,
officially, but a lot of people will talk about
yeah.
comparisons there as far as like violent crime. And,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like if you watch, if the show is an accurate reflection of real life, then certainly, and I think it is. It's my understanding is that that's why the show is so highly regarded. Is that it casts a lot of people who grew up in Baltimore and weren't actors before the show.
Oh, cool.
So pretty cool in that sense. But yeah, like why on earth would that appeal to me?
Yeah.
So that's the type of person you're dealing with, to answer the question. But my awareness of it is helping, and I'm getting better at directing my focus, even if I've decided that this isn't something that's for me. After it drawing my attention for some amount of time, sticking to some like sticking to it for some arbitrary length of time, just to kind of have follow.
Well, it's why these stupid little agreements we do are so good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
It totally is. Yeah.
I think what I've noticed is that I lean, and I think it's fair to say, like, just our friend group is kind of like this. We've realized that we are better when we have these accountability pacts, basically.
Yeah.
And maybe that is a weakness, but we've accepted it, moved on, and been like, fuck it, let's get to work now.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't a weakness. I really do. But
maybe it's not. We are social creatures, right?
Yeah.
But like, you wish it wasn't a weakness, as in you wish it wasn't seen as a weakness, or you wish you didn't need it?
I wish I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. But there are very few people, I think, that are completely self-motivating.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Jocko and Goggins have gotten famous, basically.
Right.
People are like, holy shit, these motherfuckers every single day out there by themselves.
Yeah. It's almost beyond belief that they're that consistent.
I think most people aren't like that.
Yeah.
Obviously. Else we wouldn't be having this conversation, but
yeah.
I think so. All to say that I think we've done a good job of accepting it, moving on, and figuring out how to operate in that framework. And maybe, and I think it will be the case that you'll get better at the self-motivation thing.
It's definitely tempting to want to be the person, to tell yourself you're the person who doesn't need that.
Yeah.
Like you're the person who can have an app, a Facebook app on your phone, but not get like addicted to it or something like that, right? But in practice, it's a whole nother thing, at least in my experience. Yeah.
So this kind of ties back. Remember over Christmas, I asked what everyone was chirping me as a stupid question. Would you rather be? It was something about being like hypocritical or self-aware.
Yeah.
This is kind of that as well, right? It's like, would you rather be that dude or be completely aware of the situation? And I think the quick and easy answer is I'd rather be that dude. But then when you think about it, and when you have to be forced to be realistic, it's like you're already the dude you are. So
yeah,
it's like it's at least a close second to be aware of the shortcomings and how to work within the framework of whatever your personality type.
Yeah. It's very tempting to think that you have those two options available to you and you can choose the former.
Yeah.
But it's almost like it's a trick.
Yeah, I think that I've pretty much accepted I can't accept, like I won't be that dude for quite some time.
Yeah.
If ever.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right. This is probably the case for almost everybody.
Yeah.
They say that being married or living with somebody is like, maybe not roommates, but living with a partner. Very, very, people are more productive. They're stick to a regular routine better. They eat better. All these things, right? So I think the social accountability is, as much as it would be nice to. I know for me, because I'm not a particularly social person compared to a lot of people.
Yeah,
it would be nice to just be able to just throw down on my own. Yeah,
just like we could lock you in a basement suite for a year and you'd come out with like an app built, an online product to sell, and a book written.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
but you think you've accepted that?
I think I've done a decent. I mean, you're always going to have some ego where you're like fooling yourself, but I think that I've done a decent job of accepting it, and now it's just a matter of figuring out how to work within the framework and slowly get more towards the like. It'd be great to be able to be that guy, but I enjoy the social interaction, at least like with you guys. I enjoy. I'll have so much more fun doing this marathon training because I can complain with Riley about it. And
I just to correct myself, I am not saying that about you guys. It's more about
I know, but I was going to say that it'd be great to be that guy and then have the choice to just do it with your friends because it's more fun. But again, close second is accepting it and then being like, well,
just accept that you're using your friends for your own benefit.
Yeah, totally.
You asshole.
Yeah, well. It's too late. You guys are already signed up for this shit, so nobody makes friends again after this point.
Yeah.
I feel like you only make new friends as an adult if you get divorced or something, or move to a new country.
Yeah, moving. I feel like you make new friends.
I'm just bullshit.
But no, generally, I think you're right. You do have those core friends that I don't think leave you after you're stuck with them.
Maybe though. Maybe we're outliers though. It's kind of weird. I think
that we
all still hang out, especially because we weren't childhood friends. Any of us, except I guess Brendan and I were.
Okay. Because Riley and you and Brendan weren't friends until like later in high school, right?
Yeah, I didn't really hang out with Riley much until like outside of golf. We started hanging out maybe in grade 12 a bit, but we really became good friends after university or after high school ended.
Yeah.
Same with Kieran. Like Kieran and I were friends from elementary school, but like more like acquaintances. And then it was that summer after first year, we're all kind of like, most people fucking blow now. You guys pretty much the same. All right.
How did that happen?
I don't know. I'm trying. It'd be funny to, over a 6-pack of caribou and a fire in Kieran's backyard, like hash out where it all went right, so to speak. But but my main question was, do you think we're an outlier friend group where we are like still hanging out with those core friends, or is that kind of the norm, or do people bounce around between friend groups more often? There's probably just a huge variability.
Yeah, very, very variable, but I don't think we're an outlier.
No.
Do you?
No, there's probably just because there's no real trend in this.
Yeah.
There's no outlier to be had, really.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Do you think there are any other factors that allow you to stick with something that hold you accountable to once you've taken something on, giving it a fair trial and going for it?
Yeah, trackable metrics for me is a big thing. Yeah, so like I got way better at working out once I started writing down what I was lifting, for example. Once grades kind of got, actually, well, it's not a good example because they weren't a problem before, but grades helped me, like in school. If school was like, even though I don't think it's the best way to do schools to have just like memorize shit for a test.
Yeah.
Like it helped me because I was able to be like, okay, well, I want that number to be high, so go memorize the shit or understand. But so yeah, trackable metrics definitely help me stay accountable.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, that's pretty much it. It's like having someone like an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Or several. Yeah. And then trackable metrics.
And
then if it's fun too, that helps. But I've also been able to do things that aren't fun with those other two factors in place. So how about you? Is there anything else?
I think that's probably it. Yeah, I think that's probably it. Like, one thing I've really been thinking a lot more about is incorporating philosophy or religion into your life, spirituality in some way. I think that's like the original path to like consistency and commitment, is those types of things. Like, So I was talking to you the other day about like hanging artwork that reminds me of certain lessons that I feel I've internalized quite well, but I'm not always aware of.
Yeah.
So like just the idea that every day, as an example, the idea that every day you wake up and you have a choice to make between good and evil, or whatever, you know, in non-religious terms, maybe just productive and unproductive or something like that.
Yeah, positive and negative.
Yeah, and you know, like I haven't integrated it into my life, but I think that there's a lot of value in having some kind of spiritual or religious or even
ritualistic,
artistic kind of. For me, actually, probably philosophy, I guess, would be the big one.
Yeah.
But yeah, not something I think is valuable, but I haven't integrated yet. But I would like to. I'll to say that.
That's interesting.
Because I found metrics I think would be valuable, but I'm never able to stick to them because I feel as if the work to do them is not worth what it gives out.
Fair enough.
I just don't think there's an elegant metric system yet. Like I really like the idea of, for health, for example, having a Whoop band or something like that. Just wouldn't pay $30 a month at the moment for it, but I think that's like great. And if there were more elegant things for like somehow having an interface between yourself and your output to show, you know, you worked on Solum for 2 hours this evening or 5 times this week in the evening, that would be great. But just like the manual thing of doing those, and then for some reason I just
that's a really good point
about it. Yeah,
because there's a lot of things that aren't easy, don't have trackable metrics that you still want to be successful at, and then also it's really hard to have like a unified or ubiquitous method of tracking metrics across more abstract things like how productive were you, how on like that, and the human, like your health in real time is a good example too. So while trackable metrics are something that help me, there's a big shortcoming in that because it doesn't apply to everything.
Yeah,
and it doesn't apply to a lot of the most important things.
Yeah. I've liked it. I've had such a stigma against religion for so long, and it's just, I don't know if I can ever come around to it, but the idea, there's a way to borrow the ideas of praying in the morning and saying grace before you eat a meal and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's a lot to that. Basically, a constant reminder of whatever the higher thing that you're trying to strive towards is, which I think for a lot of religion is probably like gratitude and treating your neighbor like you treat yourself or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great point, man, and definitely part of why I've become lighter on my stance on religion and realized that it was pretty uninformed when I was just blanket like hard against religion. Again, I don't think I'll ever be going down to service or anything like that, but yeah, it's like that personal religion basically, where or just spirituality, something like that.
Yeah.
Kieran's gonna literally be masturbating to this part of the podcast, by the way.
Is it? Jeez, I had to cut it there.
Yeah. Sorry, that's gonna have to get edited out.
We're just edging him right now once we cut
it. Sorry, dude.
I don't really know. It would actually be good to have Kieran weigh in on this, because I don't know if you and I are the best person to weigh on this, but like, is it perverse? Is it a perversion of religion to use it as like a tool for your own personal development? Like it's very like Western.
Yeah, it's a very like Machiavellian take on religion.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna be religious so that I can
be more productive.
And
I'd say no, but again, this is as someone like from the outside, because I think that's probably why it came to be in the first place. Is whether or not people were honest about that. I think that's the role that it's always served.
Right, it had,
and that's the good that it does.
Some very obvious utility.
Yeah. So whether that, again, I'm careful to attribute to malice what can be explained by random chance or incompetence or you name it, but Whether or not someone was like, oh, we can organize people this way and it'll be good for everyone, or if people just started to organize that way because it's in our nature, and if it truly is the best, you would expect it to land on that, people to land on that eventually.
Yeah.
So I'll say no. I don't think. Well, yeah, it's a perversion, but I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think it still aligns. With what it. Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me that people, as we're having this conversation, people have biblical verses tattooed on themselves and stuff.
Yeah. No, definitely not. Hell, I mean, people tattoo Lord of the Rings quotes on them. So.
Do you have a Lord of the Rings tattoo?
No, I don't.
Oh.
I probably will. I won't.
Yourself.
I'm not a big text tattoo guy though.
No.
No, I'd probably get like a traditional rendering of something.
A little schmeeg on your right pack.
Yeah, get a little schmeeg on my pack. Little schmeeg.
Full back piece.
Just only Smeagol like coveting the ring. That'd be pretty epic, dude.
Yeah. That'd be cool. What are we at here?
We're at $1.40. You looking to call it?
You feel like calling it, or is there anything else?
Yeah, we could call it. I think that was pretty good, man.
All right.